I do. I'm going to go right to the top 10 that you hear, Samuel, because it's a good top 10. Yes, it's Screen Rant, but I think our beef is these top 10s. They're going to be out of order. I think you're going to agree with me that they're out of order. Top 10 status deaths in Stargate.
Okay, I'm
Oh,
actually gonna bow out because I'm rewatching
spoilers.
it and don't remember all of them.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. So,
All right.
you
Thanks for
gentlemen
hanging out,
have a
Static,
wonderful
man.
evening.
I'll see you guys later.
yeah. See you later, Static.
All right. Okay, so I've looked through this and I don't agree with the order. But Samuel, you are as big a Stargate aficionado as myself, so I thought this will be a good one. So let's start with number 10. Cromwell's
Jeremy just
redemption.
got through all this.
Did he finish?
I think he finished SG-1. I don't think he's done with Atlantis yet.
Okay, well, all right. They have Cromwell's redemption. You guys remember Cromwell? He basically, it's the black hole episode where they first connect to the black hole, and
his whole team gets stuck.
And he gets no. He's the one that goes down, and he has history with Jack. And
the black hole one where the Stargate connects to the black hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's
where they
set off a nuke. On the other side.
He's not the one. No, that's a different team trapped on the other side. This is the guy that when they lose contact with SGC, he gets sent down there and do the time dilation. Nobody knows that it's been 4 or 5 days already up top.
Oh,
and
that's
he
right.
He and Jack have history, and he basically sacrifices himself to blow up the bomb that sends the energy back through the Stargate to shut it down on their end, so the black hole doesn't suck Earth in through the Stargate.
Yeah.
I don't know that. I don't know that I would call his death sad. It wasn't even a really a redemption. He's just like, he saw a job that needed done, and he acted like a motherfucking hero, and he went out like one. I wouldn't call that sad at all.
Yeah, and honestly, I have zero connection to this guy. He's in this one episode. He's a little antagonistic to Jack, and they sort of find a middle ground by the end of it. But I feel him being on here is completely unnecessary.
Yeah, if it had been like somebody like obviously we know what happens to Kowalski in episode number 2. But if it had been like somebody like Ferretti, somebody that we knew from the movies or something, somebody that we already had seen some history with, I could see this being a little sadder. I don't consider this death sad. Not that it's not a good death; it's an excellent death.
But it's not a sad death.
Yeah. No, this guy comes in. He's a hard ass. He kind of rubs everybody the wrong way, but in the end, he does the job that saves everybody, and he should be hailed as a hero because he went out like one. But I wouldn't call that sad. I would call that inspiring, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I would say this doesn't meet it. Doesn't meet it. All right. Number 9, Skara's ascension.
That wasn't just Skara.
that was an entire
population of Abydos.
And it's I would put this one farther down the list because
I don't know that I would qualify it as a death.
Yeah.
Well, as ascension death, I mean that's the thing. Now they're blurring the lines. Well, he did die. He did do the death ascension thing when he gets shot while they're defending the room. Yeah.
And the rest of Abydos, obviously they got orbital bombarded into
nothing.
Paste or whatever. But they were Oma Dasala came along and did her thing and saved all of them by ascending them essentially at the moment of their death. So I don't know if death is necessarily the right word for this, but I will agree that. Because Abydos were the first people we met off world in the movie.
Yeah. And they brought back the actors from the original movie. And there was connection there. And Skara had gone through so much. He was going to it was his wedding day. It was his wedding day when Anubis decides to show up looking for the eye. And he had
sad been through so much shit.
Yeah. It's sad. It's sad, but I agree with you. I don't think it qualifies as a death. He's not. They say Skara's ascension, but the whole thing is top 10 deaths, and he ascends, which means he is alive. He's just now joining the "we're not going to fuck with your reality club." And he says, "I said I'm never going to see you again." To O'Neill, because O'Neill, like O'Neill's ever going to ascend. He's not going to ascend. So. It's sad, but it's sad for different reasons.
It's sad because they're moving on. They're leaving the show. It's not sad because like the way they went out was actually good for them and good for it's like, oh, good. They something positive happened here. They're just not going to be on the show anymore. That was a little sad.
Yeah, because the Aberdonians, man, they just got screwed all the time.
They did. Like, you got to keep in mind too. So Shara, right? All that whole 2-season arc where Daniel's hunting for Shara, right, and trying to get her back and trying to find a way to remove Aminette from Shara, right? Scar was going through the same thing with Chlorel. And eventually they did find a way to remove Chlorel without harming Skara, which was awesome. But it was too fucking late for Shara. Now, as sad as that is for Daniel, people often forget this. Shara is Skara's sister.
Yep, he's a brother-in-law.
He had to live with the fact that they were able to save him and they couldn't save her. They didn't talk about it, but it's in there.
I agree. And the whole tribunal episode is a fantastic episode.
Oh, it's really good. Yeah. Kevin Durand is pretty awesome at it, even if he is dressed ridiculously.
Yeah. He's a great character actor when he gets a chance to do shit like that. He's a fantastic. He's one of the things I did like about that vampire show that was on FX all those years ago, where he kept calling them munchers.
Oh, yeah. The Strain.
Yeah, he was the best thing in that show.
Yeah, he was great in that show. He's a good character.
He's the best thing in that show. Right. So again, it's sad, but I think they have it on here for the wrong reasons. It's just not good. Okay. Shara. We just talked about that. Shara.
That should be higher on the list.
Yeah. Especially because of the emotional and that whole episode where it's happening in Daniel's head. That she's using the hand device to create a different reality to try and explain shit to him, and help. And it's just so fascinating that it's all happening in that split second, and it still works out the same way where Teal'c ganks, where he ganks her, where he ganks Aminette, and because she managed to work it out with him. Daniel was able to make peace with the fact that Teal'c had to do what had to be done.
Yeah, that was the gut punch.
Yeah. And you get to see her naked, so that's extra sad that she then dies.
Well, that was in the pilot, but yeah.
to me, actually, while this episode is sad, it's sad death, I found it more tragic. Her giving birth episode is more tragic. And because of the whole she's there and then Daniel has her for a minute and she gets taken away, and then that last moment, of course, that's also one of my favorite episodes ever because it has one of the most badass Jack moments where they'd been doing all their shit and they come in late and they come through the gate and there's Harrower and Jack just walks through the gate, sees Harrower, just opens up with his machine gun, and Harrower goes, Block turns on the shield, blocks, you dare defy me? Jack goes, yeah, thinking about it. And in just one fluid movement, flips up his K-bar, throws it, and just goes right through the shield, stamps Harrower right through the hand device. And and then somebody asks Jack, so, wow, you remembered about the whole kinetic thing? Jack goes, yeah, sure.
Yeah, that was... Man, those early seasons had so many just like straight up badass moments that seemed to come out of nowhere. That was one of the top ones for
that's
sure.
that's one of my favorites of all time. Thinking about it, whoops.
It's like going back to the second episode when Kowalski gets possessed and he's trying to get Walter to, open the gate, and Walter won't do it, so he just breaks Walter's arm on the fucking counter and pushes him aside.
I know. Well, that see, it's. That's why I say Shara's pregnant episode, I find that more tragic and sad than even her death episode.
Yeah.
Because then as she's walking away, Aminette looks at exactly where Daniel is, and you have to think Shara has some level of influence still in that moment and manages to not spot them when Apophis comes to pick her up.
She was definitely Yeah, she was definitely like we got the answer to Daniel's season long question. Like there was something of the host must survive because something of the host did survive. She was actively working against the gold.
Protect the
and
child.
it yeah, and it was sad. It was tragic, and it was something that unfortunately we all saw coming. But for me, like I said earlier, the gut punch wasn't when Teal took her out because you understood why he had to. Same way Daniel understood why he had to. But when Daniel forgives Teal'c, it's like, Jesus, that hit home.
Yeah. Because he'd already, because of what Emina did. That's the real sad part of this, that she does that whole thing knowing she's going to die a moment later. And she's using this time to help him. She takes the time, not so much spend time with him, but to make sure Daniel goes through the grieving process now and doesn't ruin his life going through the grieving process.
Yeah, well, she still loves her husband. She doesn't want him to live in misery and bury himself in vengeance.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, Ariel, that's what happened. The ghoul, Amanette goes to sleep in the pregnancy episode because her being awake was harming the child. That's why she goes to sleep in that. The baby, well, that's the thing. The
Harcesis.
Harcesis, thank you. The Harcesis. That was a taboo for Goa'uld because you got to remember the Goa'uld pass genetic memory, and if two Goa'uld hosts have a child, the memories of the symbiotes will pass on to the child. So any child born that will have that entire line of evil embedded in them, along with all the secrets that the Goa'uld have been stealing for thousands upon thousands of years from other advanced technologies. And that's why the Harcesis episode is also really good, because it teaches you that great idea of sometimes the only way you win is by not engaging.
Yeah. Well, the Harcesis is kind of like the hybrids in World of Darkness. They're bad news for everybody. And so the Goa'uld would prevent them from happening because a child like that would become more powerful than they were, and that was a threat to them that they couldn't handle. Everybody else wanted the kid dead because a child like that would become more powerful than the Goa'uld.
The episode is so good that way because it shows you the technology that it harbors to destroy everything. Not to mention, Apophis wanted it to become his host, which is a little sick and weird when you think about it.
Well, I mean, if you're going from the mythology angle, it's not the sickest thing gods have ever done.
No, but it's still, it's really fucked up. And that's, and it's, but that's why it's also good. And that's why Stargate is one of these great classic shows that reminds you what good writing is and how they can tackle so many different topics in just sometimes one episode. Or it's a series of episodes that all come together to show you a through line. And everything with Shah-Ra, the Harcesis, is great. So this should be farther down the line, and I think it's you're going to agree, and you've already said that, and you'll agree more with what we see coming on further on.
Yeah.
Hunter Riley's brutal death in Universe. Now, I don't remember this because I've only seen season 2 once. So, Samuel, why don't you walk us through?
Okay, so season 2, they end up, in one of the shuttles, and they're going down to explore this planet, but this planet has like brutal riptides in the atmosphere, right? So they hit ungodly turbulence that sends them crashing down, and when they crash, like there's a bunch of superficial injuries and some people who really need to, get back, but obviously they can't because the fucking shuttle's basically crushed into a mountainside. Riley gets pinned under debris. And when they try to move the debris, they realize that it's
a crushed,
putting pressure on his arteries that have been exposed. And he essentially, Colonel Young he doesn't want to bleed out. So Colonel Young gets everybody away and he agrees to take care of it. And he suffocates Riley.
Yeah, right. There it is.
Slow,
right there.
And it's fucking ugly. And it's an awful thing to watch.
Yeah.
And this scene right here that you're seeing right there, that haunts Young's character for pretty much the rest of the season.
Well, yeah, you
know,
it was a mercy, but
mm-hmm.
it was done in a way that is visceral almost.
Yeah. It was a little too, there was no soundtrack. There was nothing but the sounds of the scene. And it was, it was a little hard to watch.
Kind of a point. I mean, we Jed and I last weekend, we did Last of the Mohicans, and there's in the third act at the end there where the major, I suddenly forgot his name, he's getting burned at the stake by the Indians, and Nathaniel turns around at the last second when they're far enough away, and as he's burning, he just takes a shot and shoots him in the head because that's a mercy, same type of thing. But that was long distance with a rifle. This is
well, Riley was dead either way, and this way his suffering would be over sooner because they didn't even have morphine to give him. And so the only reason he couldn't feel anything is because nerves were severed. But if they lifted the thing up, it became extremely painful for him and all that. And he didn't want to go out like that. So this was, I would say that this was a more haunting death, but it wasn't sadder than fucking Share's.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, and I mean, Last Tolan brings it up. Season 2 was a big improvement over season 1.
Mm-hmm.
But do these characters have the same level of impact of Share and everything she meant?
Yeah, watching Riley die. Riley was in every episode nearly, but he wasn't a main character. He was kind of like Walter or Siler. He was always present, but he wasn't. They didn't really do that much with him, except on occasion you get little glimpses into who he was. And so this hit like watching Walter die,
which we've done a couple times. We've seen it a couple times in a couple variants of reality variants,
right? And it sucks because we love Walter, but he isn't. It doesn't hit as hard as like say one of the main cast or whoever's more involved in that story arc.
I don't think it's on here, and I'll bring it up when we come to it. Or I don't think it's on here. To me, it's sadder to remember the episode 2010, season 5.
Oh yeah,
SG-1 2010. Watching all of SG-1 die on that on the assault to try and get the message to the Stargate. That's sadder than this, because that is versions of the real team. It's just an alternate timeline that is subsequently erased as soon as the paper goes through the gate. But that's sad because you watch Jack die, you watch Sam die, you watch Daniel die, you watch Teal'c die.
These are the main characters. You already had a ton of time to get to know the ins and outs of these characters and like who they are and what drives them and all that. So you don't really know that much about Riley besides snippets.
Yeah. So, but I'm saying that's impact sad. This, and I don't remember this because I only watched season 2 once of Universe.
It should have been fucking Chloe Donovan, not Riley. That's all I'm saying.
Listen, I listen. I'm trying to make a sexual joke here, but I don't have the room for it, so I'm gonna move on. I've made some bad ones tonight. Jacob's death. That is huge. It's the end of season 8. It's one of the last hurdles to Sam and Jack, because he basically says, and here's the funny thing: Sam had used Jacob as a reason to not get with Jack in the past in her mind, and to have the real Jacob say, "What are you waiting for?" as he's dying. And then, of course, go ahead, Sam.
Well, Jacob's blending with Selmac was total. Like they were in agreement on damn near everything, and so Selmac was backing his play on that hardcore, and all that. But there are actual legitimate reasons for them to not pursue a relationship. Number one being he is her superior officer in the Air Force. But
we know about all that, but there's a point after this where he is not her commanding officer anymore. Actually, it's very soon after this. He's no longer her direct commanding officer. But that's a whole nother Jack and Sam thing. We can go down that rabbit hole a whole different time, as I'm a giant Sam and Jack proponent. I lived for that every season, waiting for those Sam and Jack moments. I lived for it.
Honestly, I think it works better that they never did get there.
They did get there, though. It was all off camera, though, and there were hints about it in in Atlantis that they were there.
Yeah, it's like that. That's a reason that he left, essentially, kind of.
Yeah,
so they could start clapping.
Yeah, I mean, they did. They were there. They got there. They did. Remember the whole.
Let me put it this way. I think it's better that it wasn't a focus of a plot. You know, it
Oh
wasn't
no,
like,
not a plot, but I just wanted
yeah.
it to happen. I just wanted because there was a whole deleted scene in
You're a
Atlantis
shipper.
where Sam and what's her name from Firefly who came in.
Yeah, Dr. Jewel State.
Yeah, Jewel State. There was a whole there's a whole deleted scene where they're talking about their relationships, and Sam explains the difficulty of her relationship. So it was there. They just took that scene out. They took it out in Atlantis. And of course,
at least they applied it that there was something.
One of my favorite moments in Atlantis is how when Sam's moving in at the beginning of season 4, and in her office, you see the pictures of Teal'c and Daniel and all that stuff and everybody else there. But then when you go to her room, the picture of Jack is for her private quarters. And I always love that little moment. It's like, yes, thank you. Anyway, the death of Selmax.
Yeah, to get back to that, it was, well, it was very sad, but it was, again, there was a finality to it and a completeness to it that totally made sense. I mean, it wasn't like a hard pill to swallow necessarily, especially when the very episode that we met both Jacob and Selmac, they were dying then. And it was only their union that saved both of them. And so this was kind of it coming full circle a little bit. And so, you know, I don't hate it, but yeah, it is sad because they became beloved characters. But
and it's powerful because it's very funny because this whole episode is going up against Daniel and Anubis in the diner. And
that was awesome.
It's a fantastic, while everybody's just sitting here dealing with this, and then you have Daniel dealing with Anubis in the diner. It's a great parallels all going on. They're just watching this happen, and Jack being there for Sam, and just like you said, everything of Jacob's storyline. It's one of these great moments in a series that can go for so long where you get a complete storyline like this. You get Jacob's chance to be the father he never could be, both to Sam and his son. And he admits it. I got this extra time. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I should have died years ago. We got to be a real family, a real father-daughter, and I got to make amends with your brother. And it hits home, and you love it, and you're sad to see Jacob go because he became a staple. Like, oh, we're getting a Jacob episode. All right, we're getting a Jacob episode. This is great.
I fucking love Jacob episodes. They're usually huge adventures and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Ariel's asking, Selmac decided to go ahead and die with Jacob. Kind of. Selmac was too weak at that point from trying to keep both of them alive to be able to blend with the new host. And also, Selmac is fucking ancient.
Yeah. Yep. And then she goes into a coma, and Jacob says, "Yeah, Selmac's already gone. It's just me now." And we held on for this. Jake, like I said, you said, Jacob episodes are always great. I like one of the first ones, and he returns in season 4 when they're going after Seth. I always say Seth because of Conan. When they go after Seth, and he's a general. He still holds the rank of general in the Air Force, but they're on the mission, and Jack's in control, and the ATF guy goes to him. Do you always let your subordinates talk for you? He says, only when they're making sense. I love it. The thing is, he fits right in with the tone of everything. It's lovely. This should also be a little higher on the list, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree.
It should be higher on the list.
There was a lot more weight to this one than some of the others.
Yeah, and it's season 8. This is the last time we get the original cast together, because season 9, our RDA leaves the show, comes back for a guest spot couple times, and on this,
and he does some guest spots on Atlantis too.
But he's essentially gone.
And Universe, actually.
Yeah, well, the premiere in Universe. Yeah, he's there in the premiere. Oh, he's there a couple times though.
No, he shows up later because there's periods where he is in charge at the SGC while when they're using like the communication stones.
Because he's been bumped up to 3. Yeah, because he's bumped up to 3-star at this point. He's gone.
Yeah, so Young has several kind of debriefings with O'Neill throughout the course of that series.
Yeah, because at that point he has moved to DC, where he's in charge of the DC branch of the Gate program, which makes Sam not directly under his command anymore, which is why I brought that up earlier. And Sam's also in charge of a ship at that point. She's commanding a ship. Okay, this does not belong at number 5.
No, that belongs at number 1. That one made me almost quit the show.
It blew everybody's mind. It blew our minds. Like, oh shit, you're killing Daniel, and yes, he ascends, but it's, dude, what the fuck? And this number 5.
I'll amend that at least number 2, because I can think of one other SG-1 death that I would place above that.
I think there is an SG-1 death that is number 1. I think it's the number 1, and it can make the argument. But this was season 5, and remember, at this moment they didn't know they were getting season 6.
Yeah, this was the end of season 5.
This is the penultimate episode, because then they go to pick up Thor on. They meet not Loki. They meet Freyr. No, who's the clone? Who's the one doing the cloning?
I thought that was Loki.
Was Freyr? No. Loki.
Yeah.
Loki's the body swap.
Loki's the one who's been kidnapping yokels on Earth and experimenting on.
Right. And we get young Jack. And then there's 2, which makes basically 2 Jack O'Neills running around on Earth. A young one with the mind of a 50-year-old. Go forth, I love the end of that episode where you're gonna be okay, and then he gets out, and the girls immediately go forward. He goes, "Go forth, young man." But this is an amazing episode. It's also our introduction to Ascension. Really, we've touched on it a couple of times.
It's also our introduction to Jonas Quinn and Naquadria.
Yep, which plays a massive role in season 6. And of course, Michael Shanks left to thinking he was going to go do other things, and realized, hey, wait a minute, I had a good thing here. I'm coming back in season 7. I'm coming back. Although his guest spots in season 6 were fantastic.
Yeah. The last Tolan says it was Heimdall. I think you're right. Dude.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
See, it's great having another fan.
Wasn't Freyr the asshole who was on the Prometheus in engineering?
I think you're right.
He was always muttering under his breath.
They all look the same, you know.
Listen,
well, they're all clones.
I know, joke.
Last Tolan brings us up here. When you think Breaktech gets ganked at the end of season 7. Oh man, was I clenched up. I'm like, oh no, Breaktech can't die. Breaktech can't die. Yeah. No, but then of course he lived. I was like, thank you.
Season 7 had some fucking spectacular shit going on. That was a great season. It was probably the last really great one. Yeah,
the Antarctica battle. That the epicness of the when the X-303s arrive to run cover for SG-1. Oh man, that gets me every freaking time. And then Hammond shows up in the Prometheus. I love the season 7 finale so much. I love it so much. But this should be higher. It was so impactful at the time. And yes, it was an Ascension thing, like Skara, but this was the first time we've seen it done. And we didn't know if we were ever going to see Daniel again. He might as well have been dead. And this should be way higher, especially with, I think, a couple of the other things are going to be on here.
Why is this even on here? Like,
I don't know.
Jack's character, but it happened off fucking screen in the movie.
Yeah. It happens in the original, before the original movie. It's the whole premise for why he was willing to go on a suicide mission in the first place. So yeah, it had to happen. But like, you don't know fuck all about Charlie O'Neill. The only reason that you do is because of Cold Lazarus, where the alien like kind of impersonates him and tries to learn about him to heal him. Which is an important episode, and why you don't skip it, because it's part of Jack's evolution in season 1.
Right. But, and it is, and it's really good and all that stuff. But I don't know that I would. Like the way they filmed it, the way they wrote that scene where he's hanging outside with his wife and the gunshot goes off, that hit fucking hard. It did, but we still don't really know Charlie, you know, and so I wouldn't even put this fucking on the list, let alone this
it
high.
should not be here.
It's just sad because it's a kid. But I mean, you have no connection to him. You have no emotional connection. You haven't been there every episode.
There's more power in Groundhog Day episode to it when they finally figure out how to stop the loop and they go into the final time to confront the dude who started the whole thing, and the guy says, "I lost my wife. You don't understand." And Jack yells, "I lost my son."
Mhm.
It's more powerful there than here.
Yeah,
In
and you know, like this is like putting Uncle Ben's death above Gwen Stacy and fucking Harry Osborn in Spider-Man.
Yeah,
right? It's like you don't really like Uncle Ben's important to the formation of the character and to his motivations and to his drive going forward. The same thing with Charlie, but you aren't really supposed to know him.
Yeah.
You know, because he's not a character, he's an event.
Yeah, his death's not meant to make you feel bad. It's meant to be a story thing to it, a purpose to it.
It's meant to connect us to Jack and have us have sympathy and emotion towards Jack. We don't have emotion about Charlie because, Sammy, you said it perfectly. We don't know Charlie. Never known
it's
Charlie.
a story plot. That's all it is.
I agree. It doesn't even belong on here. I had the same thought when I saw it here. All right, number 3, the death of the Asgards.
Yeah, that one. Because Thor, you really get to know Thor a lot.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
more him than just the Asgards.
They Minecraft their entire civilization.
Yeah, I was actually kind of pissed about that.
So was I. Just because I don't like that. I don't like that episode as a whole. I really don't like that episode.
No.
In this season 10 finale.
It's like you guys are having trouble like with the replicators. The replicators are winning the war. Okay, fucking relocate. It's not the first time your species has done that. You guys can't, continue to clone yourselves because of the cellular degeneration. That makes sense, but there's no reason that you should end your fucking existence early. It's like, I'm not saying make more, degenerate clones. I'm just saying, like, why not live out the lives that you have in the bodies that you currently occupy?
Yeah. And the thing is, their technology is so far advanced. They haven't found a way to like take their consciousness and put it into other bodies or something like that. Like they haven't evolved to where they could get past that.
Thor haunted fucking Anubis's ship's computer.
Yep. I was just going to say that. Yep.
And he did it again on what was the name of that ship? When they were trying to fix him, when they were trying to get him back into his body, like they uploaded him into an Asgard ship computer.
Yeah. We know that they have that tech. Well, they don't, but the ancients had that technology because the old archive that downloaded it to Jack's brain that took him to the Asgards in the first place.
Yep.
If they're that advanced, they can't take that technology from the ancients, find a way to do it, and like imprint themselves into the body of some other like clones of people, like, or something. So there's not really a soul or a person in there, but they're just empty shells, and upload themselves into there and say we just have to start being a different species or whatever, but our brains will go on. But no, they're just all, we're dead. Goodbye, my friends. It's like,
it pissed me off, and that's why I was glad in Atlantis when the rogue Asgard showed up. Like, yes, we got Asgards again, and they got attitude. But
those guys were dicks.
Yeah, those guys real dicks, and I wanted to see more of them because they had freaking powered armor. But this, I didn't like this, and it is tragic because these are the dudes. Early on, of course, Jack's always going, I love those guys. And the relationship that they have with the humans, they start naming ships after them and stuff like that. The Asgard became a staple. And then to just have them be the final thing that goes in the end of the regular seasons was rough.
Yeah.
And then, unfortunately, again, it led to an episode that I don't like, that season 10 finale. I don't like that episode. I really don't. There's a couple things I like in it, but most of all, I really don't like it. It bugs me a lot. And this is the catalyst of it. So maybe that's a reason. I don't know. This is up there. I still think I think Daniel Jackson should be higher than this one, though.
Yeah.
Because it was more impactful. All right. Top 2. All right. Guesses on the top 2. Important, impactful things we haven't seen yet. Guesses? Nothing?
No.
Okay. We'll go. All right. Number 2. Beckett's death.
Oh, that did bother
That,
me.
especially because
Sam,
that's why Sam didn't respond, because we lost him. I'm like, damn,
yeah,
I
Sam
think he
just
would
runs
respond.
like,
All right, let's wait for Samuel to get back for a second. Let's talk. Yeah, people can't ask our minds. True, but those are people. I think they're just talking. We're talking about the sense that they should have just kept going with the way they were going, and they completely abandoned the. At least, I don't like that they ran away from the using the original bodies that had been searched, that they had found at the end of season 5. I don't like that they abandoned that plot line. It would have been interesting if they had done something more with that. I mean, yes, they used it, and I think Thor says at one point, yes, it's helped out a little bit, but I still don't like the Asgard's Minecraft their whole planet. I don't like it, because it just removes them. It removes them from the story completely, which is why I said I was glad when the rogue Asgard returned in Atlantis, because that made it cool and it made it fun. All right, Sam. All right, Buggy. All right, yes, Sam will be back. We'll finish the list of them when Sam goes back. So let's scroll back up here, because that we have to talk about that. That's word. But this is why I love the show so much. There are so many, even just races are important to have in there. I mean, there was the whole did you ever wonder if they were ever going to do something with the Furlings?
Yeah, that always kind of bothered me, because they're one of the 4 races or whatever of,
the
these
original
super
4,
intelligence. Yeah. And yeah, we got one episode with them. Well, they came in like to another episode, but just to like take the people who were without a planet or were about to lose a planet.
No, we never saw them.
No, yeah, we did.
No, we didn't.
Yeah,
we never saw the Furlings. No, we didn't.
We saw them in the if you have the first episode where they're all like, we don't fight back and all that stuff. And,
no, those are the Nox.
Sorry, that's right. You're right. The Nox. Shit.
Those are the Nox.
I get them mixed up. Yeah, you're right. You never see the Furlings. You're right.
That's one of the great mysteries of Stargate. We never saw the Furlings. There was only one episode where they were a central focal point, and it was just their technology. It's the one where Harry and Jack get transported out of a temple, and Sam thinks they get transported to another place on the planet, but they got transported to the moon that was in the sky. And it's the whole thing where they go, where the flowers make them, where the flowers of the food on the planet, the weeds make them crazy. And Harry and Jack almost kill each other. And Sam also loses her shit because it's still so soon after Daniel died, because this is season 6. So it's still so soon after Daniel died. And now, of course, Jack, who she is suppressing her feelings for, disappears like this. She can't give it up. But that was Furling technology, and that was it. And then Furling technology had to be taken over by the Gould.
Well, it's something.
We saw the joke version. Yeah, the only time we see was the joke version. That doesn't count.
Yeah. It's something they could address if they ever like actually went back into Stargate, but I mean, I don't really want them to, just because we know they'll fuck it up.
Yeah, no. Oh, we don't want them anywhere near Stargate.
The hole that they could use. Yeah.
Nowhere near Stargate. That's why every time they kept talking about, Amazon's doing this, I kept thinking, please don't, just leave it alone. I mean, even if you're going to do it, at least make something new. Don't touch what exists anymore. Because remember, about last year when I did a video on it, there were rumblings about it, and you looked at who was involved. None of the original creators were involved.
Yeah,
nobody was involved. Okay, Sam was back.
They would destroy it so bad.
Yeah, we never want them near that. Okay,
and that is
go ahead.
The shitternet.
Yes. All right. So we were just talking about the Furlings. You want to add anything on that before we go?
Yeah, the only time that we saw the Furlings at all was in that joke episode with the Hollywood Pitches, where they showed up as kind of Ewok-looking munchkins on the yellow.
And that was
and that was like, I saw an interview with some of the guys like Brad Wright and
Malosi,
Bob Malosi and Bob. I can't remember his fucking name. He was a showrunner forever. Anyway. and where they were saying, yeah, we got so annoyed with people asking us about the furlings, we were just like, fuck it, we're never showing them.
They like I said, I would like if they did find somebody who would do it well, and they did come back, that they addressed that and the Nox, because I think the Nox was a big kind of hole. You only saw him those 2 episodes. You never really got to address him. You saw a ton about the Asgards. You see a ton about the Ancients, but not much about those 2. And so,
well,
I would really like to see where that went.
I think it's okay with the Nox, because we know the Nox, they just live there and they hide from the universe. They just hide.
Yeah, but there could be so much more to it.
But they're pacifists. What are they going to do?
I don't know. Something they could address.
All right. Sorry. So number 2, the death of Beckett. That
one was rough.
It was rough. It was such a shock because he'd just done the brilliant surgery.
So I think I know what number 1 is.
Yeah, by now you know what number 1 is, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And this one hit me.
Yeah.
Because he had, the thing about Atlantis was that it wasn't designed the same way SG-1 was, where you had your main team. No, it was more than just the team that goes out on a mission. It was the entire the entire crew of the mission.
Yeah.
Everybody that joined. And of course, and Beckett had become a good character at this point. We liked him. He was funny. He was a great pairing with Rodney. It was always good humor and always the positive to Rodney's negative.
Yeah.
And for him to go out like that, just walking, and I remember the promos for the episode. They showed it in a way where it didn't look like he was blowing up, and you didn't know what was going on. And then, of course, in the episode, it happens. And then, of course, you get Rodney's final moment here. They're showing it right here where he's talking to him and he's not really there about, we should have gone fishing together. I shouldn't have. It's really powerful. And then to have his clone come back and then the existential question, is the clone him?
Yeah.
Can it be him? And oh man.
It was. I had mixed feelings about the clone. Obviously, everybody was taken aback by this. Sort of like, they fucking did it again. But
we got Dr. Hottie.
Yeah, we
Jules
did.
State. I mean, listen, Jules State was great. I mean,
she was, but Paul McGillion was he was a really fantastic character on this as Carson, and they fucking did it again, and then they bring him back with the clone thing, and I was just like, it's like what happened with Weir. Like, you're not 100% sure what happens to Weir. You don't know for a fact that she died until later when Replicator Weir says that she did.
Yeah.
And that was a little bit different, right? Whereas this, like, we fucking watched Carson die here.
Yeah. And all the stuff with Weir, that was also contract problems, and they set something up that they didn't follow through on because she didn't come she didn't come back.
Sure, but there was just this, they didn't write her out of the show exactly either. They just kind of left it ambiguous and all that, and they didn't tie it up until later with the human form replicators.
Yeah, that was basically, we see the writing on the wall. Looks like we're canceled. Let's tie everything up as quickly as possible in these final episodes, and that was one of those. But it still hit hard when he died, man. It was rough. I still wouldn't put it above Daniel, though.
Yeah,
no. I would put Daniel at the very least at number 2.
Yeah.
I'm a little torn on whether he should be 1 or not, given the next one.
Now you know what number 1 is: the death of Dr. Fraser.
The first Dr. Hottie.
I know, dude. She had some tits, man.
I would. You remember the episode where she took
yes.
off everything? She was in the tank top. She was going around. She's like, "Hey, boys!" I was like, "God damn."
Yes.
I would have been in medical all the time.
Yes. Janet Fraser, who had been there since season 2, I believe, if my memory is right. She had been there many times. She had been helping out. Had a lot of unlikely great episodes. The episode where Cassie's mutating. Oh,
Her
man,
death actually opens up a whole fucking can of worms because there was a lot of stuff tied to Janet Fraser that they just really didn't do anything with. Number one being what the fuck happened to Cassie
yeah.
after she died. Like you
Well,
never find out.
if we go by 1968, Cassie lives a long and normal life. If you
I mean,
go
that's
by the
good.
well, then
But
again, we don't know. Did the timeline of 1968 continue with everything that goes
yeah,
on? We don't know. That's the thing
but yeah, no,
Now,
this one sucked because she had gone from being the occasional guest star to a series regular and became over many seasons. She was there for half the fucking show.
yep,
As a very beloved character and,
yep.
and very well fleshed out. And they
And
just
it's a two-parter, and you show her you're getting a little bit of her personal life. Someone's hitting on her, and she's actually into it. And
yeah.
And then she goes off, and then they do this whole thing. Who's the one that died? None of us knew.
Yeah.
None of us knew
Everybody
until
thought it was Jack at first.
yeah, you're thinking it's Jack because of the way everybody's reacting. And then when Daniel gives over the recording, she's there, and then she's not. And when that staff blast just knocks her out of the camera, you're like, oh shit.
That was fucking brutal.
You go, what? It hits you. It's like, oh shit.
Well, it was sudden and you were completely unprepared for it. Like Daniel spent the whole episode dying.
Yeah.
Right. And he got to make his piece. Carson, dies suddenly, but there's a whole episode around like him moving on as well, in as he goes. With her, it's just so abrupt. Like death happens in real life very often. No one had any time to prepare for that. Nobody. I also got to point out here too that Saul Rubinek's performance as the documentary director is fucking incredible.
Oh yeah,
in this two-parter.
Yeah. So, and Saul Rubinek, veteran character actor, veteran on this stuff. We know him from, of course, Warehouse 13. He was great, and the thing is, what he's saying throughout those entire two episodes, he's not wrong in everything he's saying. He's not wrong
he's
at
not.
all.
And that fucking speech he gives about about not covering it up, about being responsible, and about getting ahead of stuff, and how it is irresponsible not to make this thing. God, that was such a great fucking speech.
And at the end, to have Hammond say you were right when Hammond had been so resistant, and those two episodes are so impactful in terms of a lot of messaging and the character work, and then like we said, the suddenness of Janet Fraser's death. And then there's that little hopefulness that they name that the man who she saved, he names his daughter Janet. And it comes around. It's like, okay, something good did come out of this because she was doing what she always did, saving a life, even at the cost of her own. Without her, that man would have died. And it gets you, man. It gets you. And that's why this show is one of the greatest of all time. That's why when we did the listing, it went to GOAT, because it has all these moments. It has characters that grow and change and evolve that you wouldn't think are going to be characters you care about. But the show, they make the effort. They take the time to make you care.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It also helps. Sorry, that Terrell Rothery had a great rack.
He still does, actually. But
yes,
she's still a damn good-looking woman.
High and tight.
It's not. I mean, she doesn't have as much gravity to worry about as a taller woman. I will say that. She's very short.
Yes, and I'm okay with that. I am okay with that. Anyway, all right. So this went as though as I thought. We agree with most of these deaths that they're impactful, but I would agree that this is in the top 3. This should be in the top 3 because of her importance to the show. But a lot of these throughout this, they should have been. They're not in the right places, and someone like this one doesn't even belong.
Yeah.
So, to be honest, anything from the one from Universe, that should not have been higher than anything from Atlantis or SG-1. It should not have been,
I
despite
agree.
its visceral nature of it, as Samuel described it. Anyway, so
Yeah,
I knew,
no,
I knew,
it shouldn't have been.
yeah. This is why I knew this would be a good one tonight, because it took us down some nice Stargate stuff, and I will answer this question. I would say Kinsey's worse than Kavanaugh.
Oh, I disagree. I disagree. Kavanaugh is such a fucking grating sack of shit. I kept waiting for fucking somebody to airlock him, or just drop him in the fucking ocean or something, because he was such a piece of shit the entire time. Whereas Kinsey, while he was the villain, and he was a villain, I love Ronnie Cox. I'll watch him be a villain all goddamn day long.
Oh yeah, yeah. The only time he wasn't a villain was in Beverly Hills Cop. It's the only time he wasn't a villain.
Yeah, he was pretty good in those though.
Yeah, but I see. Thing about Kinsey is that I like good mainstay villains, and in the end, Kinsey got the worst possible ending. He got taken over by a Gould.
Yeah,
I mean it's so deserving that he ends up a Gould after all his machinations.
Yeah. You remember that time where he like faked his own assassination and blamed O'Neill for it, and then they went and they got the real guy, and then he was shaking hands with O'Neill for a photo op. He's like, "Son, you just got me the White House."
And
son of a bitch.
He almost did. Almost did.
Yeah.
God, I love it so much. I love it so much. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Check out my gaming channel at Renaissance Nerd Arcade, and follow me on X Twitter under @TheRedNerd. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy.